Oh, here we are.
We've hit the Panther. We're on the air.
Welcome, guys. Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day, PIVX.
All right. This is the very first PIVX Roundtable with your hosts, Angelo and Kelsey.
Or as my mother-in-law says, crazy fucking Kelsey.
All right. So we got a bit of a show for you guys today. We're just going to wait a few minutes to let people join. I'm going to share some of the links in Discord right now. And
spread the word, spread the love.
Yeah.
We're having a great big gushy mushy love fest over PIVX Day, and we're super excited about it. Valentine's Day theme. Everybody's pivin'.
That's it, baby.
You gotta give love to Piv love.
So I'm just gonna get this shared in Discord. So my computer is very far away. There we go.
Yeah, we backed it up. We backed up so we could give you a vibe and so we could get our Panther in. Really.
We are live. Okay.
Woo.
Let's send a link to old Happy Snappy.
Happy Snappy.
And Chatalicious.
Rubarbarian.
That's a different link for those special folks.
They are coming to hang out with us live on this broadcast. We are so excited. You guys, obviously, you see Chad typing a lot, but he doesn't get on video very often. So we're super excited to talk to him about brand love and community and how he really took PIVX from darknet to what it is today.
Yeah, and so if you guys saw the screenshot that was posted in Discord, I can share my screen right now, but I would have to do a lot more squinting than I'm doing right now. So head to the Discord in the lounge, and you'll see a pie chart. And what this pie chart shows, I'm just going to pull it up so I can relay some of this info to you guys. So we asked people in the community one question, and that was what makes PIVX special. So we're going to talk a little bit about that 5 minutes after the hour, so we're like 2 minutes or less away, and share some of the findings of that small survey. And let's see where we get. Yeah, we got somebody tuning in now. I'm just going to pop open the chat here so I can see what you guys are saying. Get in there. Now I'm just going to
bear with us on this new format.
Yeah.
So we have the computer a little farther away.
And pop out that chat. So guys, if you're watching, please drop a little comment in the chat. Who are you? Where are you from? If you feel so bold, let us know what your name is on Discord.
Or your name in real life.
Oh, I'm gonna have to zoom in for that.
If you feel extra bold.
Hello. Po Biznich, what's up?
Po Biznich, ain't none of your business.
Urine B, sup Pivians, Ingus. Yes, community does make PIVX special.
Yes.
Rain Man's coming back soon. Purple Rain, baby, it's coming at you.
Woo!
From Zenzo Project.
Hello.
PIVX loves Zenzo.
Always be awesome.
Oh, that's a great username right there.
Yes.
Guyans checking in. Brian.
Hey y'all.
Far East. NBH. Hey y'all.
Nice, nice.
Where are you guys tuning in from? We got Urine B from Vietnam with Zenzo.
Ooh.
Taco in the hizzy. That's
yeah.
Taco. Nice. Taco. You got some good.
Satoshi Naka Jeff winking away. Winking.
Taco had some great submissions into the survey.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Colorado, South Africa. What time is it in South Africa right now? It's probably around 9, I'm guessing. Maybe 8. Are they GMT? They're pretty. They gotta be close to GMT.
I know. Well, there's Chad.
Oh, Chad's jumping on.
Hey. Hello.
Chad, how you doing?
Good. How are you guys?
Good.
Love the studio.
Yeah, thanks. This is Angela's office.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hardcore. Kiss and the metal and everything. Whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is actually, this desk is made to look like an airplane wing. Can everybody hear Chad all right? Chad, say a little something, something.
Hello, something. Welcome to.
Just drop a little something in the chat for us to let us know you can hear Chad all right. I think maybe our volume is down a little bit. Oh yeah, there we go. I hear Chad.
You okay?
Loud and clear.
Perfect.
A bit grainy. It's probably that headset that he teleported from 2001.
Yeah. I'm gonna break out in some song here.
I know Snappy's going to be joining us soon as well. Snap a lap. And so we're just past the half hour, so the 5-minute mark. So we're going to get started with the show. And the first thing I want to talk about is this pie chart that we put into the Discord chat. So if you see it, I can drop it in again, but it's the survey results from a 1-question survey that we distributed through Discord. And we asked Pivians, what is the one thing that you think makes PIVX special? So it's a pretty limiting, question. You got to be pretty particular. And we let people say whatever they wanted, and then we categorized them because we saw very consistent themes pop up. And so we distilled it down to 7. And really it could be 6 because I would say number 2 and number 3 are pretty much the same, which are development and innovation. We're having all the chat about that in the Discord. But if you were to put those 2 together, development and innovation is the number 1 thing that drives people to PIVX. Community was huge though. It was over 30% of people said community. And so we were kind of talking about this a little bit if you guys were in the Discord chat before this, and it seems very clear that people are coming for the tech and they're staying for the community. And I know, Brother Chad, you probably got a thing or two to say about that, don't you, Mr. Branding expert?
Yeah. So you want me to say something about that or what?
Well, we were debating because you were saying that they come for community, yes, and they stay for tech. So from your perspective, it's flipped, and the stats might agree with you.
Yeah, from my perspective, from what I'm hearing, we got a lot of people that came just because of the vibe. Obviously, in crypto, you're going to come for the tech, but why they came initially, it usually came through a who. And so that's community. And then when they got in, they're like, I just like it here. And then they start asking questions. So a lot of them didn't come with a lot of preconceived understanding of the tech, I would say. Yeah, so the community is huge.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I think it's really important, especially in crypto. So a lot of the communities can be pretty hostile, I would say.
Yeah, very vicious.
No.
It's not really welcoming of newcomers. And the thing is there's a lot of questions that people have about crypto, especially today. We're past the 10-year mark now of Bitcoin, both on the anniversary of the white paper and the anniversary of the first block being mined. So, that's still pretty early. And I think it can be a little too easy to fall into that trap of, not being welcoming of beginners, noobs, hating on noob questions. And
no coiners.
Yeah, and the reality is answering noob questions means you're bringing new people into the community. And I think by having such an open and welcoming atmosphere, that is a better breeding grounds for enhancing and building that community. I'm going to jump back into the chat here. So what do you guys think about, what is it about the community that you love? Is it just having people to banter with that are like-minded? Is there a particular type of discussion that you find here that you don't find anywhere else? What is it that you love about the PIVX community? I'd love to hear it. Drop it in the chat. Jake from Blockchainers interviewed Snappy. Good to see you guys working steady. Stay purple. Thanks, Jake. Much appreciated.
Diversity. That's a good one.
diversity, openness, support kind and compassionate individuals. Yeah.
Wow.
Some really great answers. And I think for crypto in particular, it is so important because it really started because of the community, this underground world that started to support each other and people coming in to help with build and to help with dev. And really that is the core of crypto. And yet so often, just like we were saying, crypto is so divided and people can be so hostile. And I saw a joke on Twitter actually in the fall saying that Nouriel Roubini single-handedly united the crypto community better than anybody else because he brought everybody together for the first time, because we're always so busy bashing other coins and bashing other projects.
Disagreeing with each other.
Yeah, but we're all forked off of, the same grandpa Bitcoin. So it's kind of funny to think about how powerful it is.
Yeah, it is interesting when you kind of get a sense of how small the crypto community is really in retrospect when you kind of take a step back and see how much we're infighting a lot. And it's kind of silly when really we are all on the same team. And it doesn't matter if you're Team Purple or whatever, what we've seen in crypto is when crypto as a whole does well, or Bitcoin does well, or really any one project does well, it's actually good for the whole space. And so, we want to be supportive of even other projects because I think there's a lot less competition than people often assume. I noticed Snappy's here.
Yay, welcome.
Snappy, welcome. Good moment.
Hi guys, good moment. I'll be on video soon. As crypto and life are one and of the same, depending on your perspective. I'm currently taking my daughter to dance, so yeah, I'll be video soon.
Sweet.
You champion you.
You should see Snappy's dance moves.
Oh, Snappy's got the moves. That guy moves like Gumby.
Like a wet noodle in a boiling pot of water.
Wow, that's a visual.
Yeah, that really is a visual. Okay, I'm going to read some more of the answers from the chat, and then we'll move on to the next stage of the agenda. So Grant said it's a welcoming community, participatory engagement, peer-to-peer connections, people-to-people. It's a community for everyone. Satoshi Naka Jeff, no bias. We're leading in constant privacy development, UPF. Developers of many coins seem to enjoy the PIVX Discord. I wonder why. That's interesting. I actually did not know that, but I think there is a lot of respect for PIVX among other projects because it is a leader in innovation, and obviously that's something that the community is attracted to because it is one of the top 3 things that was mentioned in the survey. Bulletproof. Don't forget about Papa Piv. Being in communities like PIVX, you realize and remember that it's all about people, and you dissolve that greed and focus on financial gains that is so prevalent in many projects, communities. Yeah, very well said, Urban B. Because there is a certain amount, I think, that we all, we believe in PIVX and believe in the growth potential of PIVX. But there is, and I know nobody can talk to this better than Snappy, is there is something bigger there. There's a bigger meaning attached to the success of PIVX. Actually, you know what, Snappy, that's a good moment for you to jump in there. What do you think about that in terms of what the success of a project like PIVX means beyond financial benefits?
So I mean, for me, just as one person looking at it, is it sort of strikes this is a bold statement, but it strikes a victory for humanity, I think, because a lot of let's face it, look, we're a collective. We're a DAO, we are an embodiment of, I would say, the world, in that the world is becoming more aware or self-aware that there's an interconnectivity, right? Like one action that you do today has always made an effect on everyone, but I think it's becoming more prevalent and more known, right? So that the action and the way in which I do something really makes an effect. So within PIVX, and again, I'm limited in scope. Obviously, I've been Purple and in Purple a while, but what a lot of people feed back is there's something unique in PIVX, and I think it's that attempt to continue to embody the importance of the individual within the collective whole, right? I'm not saying that we do it perfectly, but what I do continually see is a reattunement to continue to develop and giving everybody the opportunity to be themselves, to have a voice. And at the same time, there's this interesting component of there's unspoken and spoken thresholds that it's just not okay to cross, right? Like you uphold the standards of dignity, of respect, honor, integrity. And that matters. Why? Because when you have those components and then you start to build projects or build code or build tech, it just becomes an extension of that. So I think, like, if going back to the original question, success of PIVX really, and to a certain degree, becomes hey, people value the internal intrinsic values of the project beyond the code base. So, and thus the people who are holding on to those values, and to a certain degree now are financially liberated, and then they can propagate that back forth into the world.
Well said. Well said, my man. We got Eric Stanek in the house.
Hey,
welcome,
hello.
Eric. Dropping some hints about some things that may be going on in the future here. Alignments with PIVX and the SDG Impact Fund, which I don't know, Snappy, we're probably not ready to talk much about that, but
well, I think we should talk about impact though, and PIVX, as a community. And your question to Snappy, just to expand on what he said, beyond financial impact, and we're talking about oneness and consciousness, but guys, even from like just a direct perspective of ease of movement, being able to send funds like never before, and we can help out our, brothers and sisters all over the world, no matter what they're going through, instantaneously. Those funds aren't getting trapped anymore. Anyone who spent any time with Eric knows, how passionate he is about that, and making sure that when there's a cause or a charity, that it's not getting lost in all of those administration fees, and it's not, getting swallowed up by the big corporations and government and taxes and all of the greedy people who are taking money in between. Right now, if we want to give in Africa, it is so challenging. I'm on the board of an African charity, and just setting up a bank account, we've required over 30 pages of paperwork just to get a bank account to deposit $1,000 just so we could have somewhere to be able to connect the charity to send Canadian funds to. When we do send funds, it's going to take ages. We're introducing our board to the idea of crypto and having a wallet that we can just move funds in, and they're all like, what? How?
Yeah.
They've never seen anything. These are people who are 70 years old and they're on a board and they've never seen it before. Think about the impact that a community like this has, and with something like, ZPIV, having that protection against all of the scary intermediaries that are trying to take from people. They can actually access it with a mobile device, with the power of a PIV wallet right on their phone. So beyond just financial, and obviously those are financial implications, but we can help people, we can send quick aid, we can feed people, we can track where the projects are going, we can use smart contracts. It's just like the most beautiful set of tools to do that. And we have a community that's passionate about building protocols specifically to service those functions. And I think, Snappy will hint to a little bit of that, I'm sure, but when you've got such an amazing community of devs who clearly are showing up in the PIV every single day because they want to be here, you guys could be making a ton of money coding blockchain. Everyone's seen blockchain job descriptions.
Right, yeah.
You could be making $250,000 a year working for a big bank developing their blockchain.
Yeah.
But here,
you're developing JPM coin.
Yeah, JP Morgan's coin, but you're here instead. You're with us in PIVX, and you're contributing code that's making a difference.
That's right.
And you're submitting projects that are making an impact.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing this JPM coin, aka database.
But Chad, do you want to talk a little bit more about that? Because you've been really involved in this ambassador program around the world and spreading the love and the joy of PIVX, and I'm sure you can really speak to, what it brings beyond finances as well.
Yeah, really the foundation of the brand is community, and right from the get-go, when I entered the project, I knew we wanted to take it just beyond the tech and celebrate the tech, but just take it beyond the tech and bring some humanity into the project. And right away, we knew we wanted to be a global coin, a global project, and not just be, North America centric or whatever. And so we started to really see people around the world originally in our Slack channel, start to really do a lot of things in their communities. And it was right away that we launched the ambassador program. And that was to find local Pivians in their area, ready to do meetups, go to conferences, be the face, the hands and feet to PIVX in the region, in their language and in their culture. And we knew that that was going to be important for PIVX to grow the brand and go beyond just being, a tech co or, delivering some awesome new tech. And it's blown up. We've got ambassadors now that are almost running their own marketing for PIVX, or doing videos and putting out graphics and doing, more is coming. And just recently, I want to be a shout out to Jeffrey, who was our first ambassador, and Juan Zeddy in Mexico. He's now starting to mentor a new ambassador. So this is kind of a first. Generally, I would do the intake and work with the ambassadors and get them set up and all along. But he said, hey, we have a new ambassador possibly in Cuba. And I said, great, he's yours. So Juan Zeddy's going to take this guy under his wing and teach him, train him, and hopefully, launch our newest ambassador in Cuba. So it's become a global currency. I think that's what's brought a lot of people to PIVX, is that we're not just providing service that everyone can use. We're speaking in their language, and we're embracing and celebrating their cultures. So it's not just about one area of the world. It's about a global movement.
That is so epic, and it's so true. You see like different Twitters all over the world popping up in different languages.
All the Twitters.
It's like
the Twitters.
All the Twitters, yeah.
Well, yeah. A shout out to our translation team, Hannah.
Yeah.
And our website originally translated into 30+ languages. We've got different region language channels, Twitter accounts, Facebook accounts. So it's huge. We're the whole ambassador global aspect of our community, I think, has really made PIVX special.
Well, I think it's so fun too to see how some of the devs respond to having these ambassadors and having this enthusiasm that they're fed by, because we even had somebody develop a tip bot. So
cheers
shout
to that.
out, that was JS Kitty, right? That was working on that project.
Yeah.
The kitty.
So cool. And now we can share. Who's making those noises? Is that Snappy?
So many cats.
I threw a little cat sound in there.
All the crypto kitties. So it's so exciting to have this level of enthusiasm that we
throw your paws up for JS Kitty.
Yeah, all the paws.
All right, that's more of a fist. How do you do a paw? I don't know.
But Eric actually just popped in the comments and noted something else that's been a huge part of community and developing community, which is our PIVX Sports and PIVX Sports sponsorships.
Yes.
Just as that was up in the chat, I thought, Chad, you can maybe take it away a little bit. I was watching the robotics video the other day. I don't know if you guys saw how badass these kids are. Normally their teams are like 20 to 30 people. The robotics team that PIVX has sponsored is like 8 kids or 12 kids or something like that. It's a lot smaller, and it's it looks like there's a young lady who's sort of leading the charge, which is very, 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 very cool. I'm like tripped up because I'm so excited. But Chad, do you want to tell us a little bit about the robotics and some of the other initiatives there?
Yes, because I think the sponsorships go right in line with the ambassador program. We're trying to reach people where they're at, in their language, in their culture. We're also trying to take away barriers to the huge tech, and it's such a complicated thing, this crypto thing. So PIVX Sports was initiated out of the community because people said, hey, I have this team that my friend's on. The first PIVX Sports sponsorship came out of Australia, a surfer who then it went to a surfer, a female surfer, and then a Polish soccer team, an entire soccer team we went with for the whole season. So why, and people are like, well, why don't you go for like big sports and bigger players and bigger influencers? And we said because we wanted to be grassroots, and we're really not looking for like superstars and winners. We really want stories, and we want to connect people with crypto through something they're familiar with and that they love and they look up to, and sports is it. So soccer, field hockey, surfing, recently with the MMA. So that was huge too, with our first sponsorship in the martial arts arena, and with Chris Cyborg, and then just recently with Luke Fulbrook, so a master strongman in the UK, and it just keeps going. So I know Snappy's got a few under his belt that he's looking to launch, some cyclists, some rock climbers. Again, we're not looking for the superstars. We're looking for people with story, with passion, who want to connect, you know, their sport to some cool new tech. And really, from a PIVX perspective, we want to just help them do what they do best, but also reach into some of their passions and the charities they're a part of. Again, we want to impact people, culture, life. It's not just about the tech. So you're going to start to see some new things coming, especially with Luke, who's very open about some of the mental health stuff he's been through in the last 12 months, and he's broken through. He said, I feel myself, haven't felt myself in 30 years. So I'm going to be doing an interview with Luke, hopefully soon, to talk about mental health. And you know, the tie into that is obviously, if you guys have been part of crypto, and those of us have, there's a lot of people struggling with that. And so it just all ties together to bring, you know, people into a community of care. And then, oh, by the way, we got this awesome technology that's going to help you manage your wealth and your investments.
And so when you approach, you know, a new athlete, I find this reaction must be very fascinating. What do they say? How do they react when they're like, there's a cryptocurrency that wants to give me money to do what I love? What is the reaction there?
Well, the cool part about it is, because it's community driven, it usually comes from a local Pivian who has a friend. And so they've already been talking, but their initial discussion is usually, yeah, like first, what's crypto, and then what's PIVX, and that just starts the conversation, and it's awesome. And then obviously when they start to see that they can take the sponsorship money that we provide through PIV, they can convert that into their local currency and use that to buy their clothes, to pay for their travel, to all those things. And we always encourage them, you know, like, save a little bit in your wallet. And so it's a progression, but it's really about the relationship, and really about showcasing people around the world and how that they're awesome, but also that we can, you know, put PIVX on their t-shirts, especially when they're lifting, you know, 370 kilograms. It's epic. Yeah,
that's amazing. And he actually noted on Instagram, for those who didn't see it, a huge shout out specifically to the PIVX community. He couldn't believe, of all the sponsorships that he's had in his life, Luke was truly blown away by just how PIVX embraced him and how it's so warm. And so it was really cool to see just the way that he reacted after he actually got into the community and started to get to know them.
Yeah. It makes PIVX a great partner as well, you know,
Absolutely.
to be able to be exposed to a community like this. You know, I know when we were on the budget and governance call, some incredible partners coming to the table that want to be affiliated with PIVX, and you know, for the most part, a lot of what they're asking for is just support to be associated with the brand, marketing support, exposure to the community. And you know, this is a tool that is valuable to you know, forward PIVX's goals, while also helping people that are.
I'm sorry.
Oh, Grant wants to be sponsored eating a steak. Okay, somebody needs to train for Grant steak.
Yeah, steak. For steak, like
staking is important for PIVX.
True.
Yeah, like I see a good brand tie-in. So I do think that we should campaign for Grant to eat a steak.
Campaign for Grant steak.
Yeah.
That's it. It's done. Some great comments have been coming in here, and Chad, really enjoying hearing kind of just more about you know, your thoughts from the brand perspective, which we want to dive a little bit more into, about moving away from darknet and just kind of some of the stuff around that. But before we do that, we'll jump quickly into the comments here. We had to say goodbye to Eric. So Eric is actually on his way to
robotics.
Get the kids to.
That's how we got into the sports combo.
That's right. We segued already. My bad. So Ingus, interesting. I just started some month ago with bodybuilding. Let's make a new story together with PIVX Sports in Germany and Austria.
Oh, that could be so much fun. Like a good old Schwarzenegger, you know, lifting. Wow. Very good money.
You always leave it for this one.
Pumping the purple.
you can always trust in Chelsea to hinge on some stereotypes.
She's
from a small town, guys.
Yeah, I am.
Bo Biznich, I think it's also important to highlight how global the community is, because Vivian gives so much, you can start to see the economy within our own community. Remarkable. Oh, I think that's, was that
Lily and the Pivian?
That was Lily.
Maybe.
Little Lily in the background there. Yes, great point, Po Biznich. I think it is pretty fascinating to see just the community turning into its own little economy, and I think it's a great example, probably the best example I could think of in the crypto world, where that's happening in a meaningful way. And if you even think about projects in the top 10, there isn't a huge community that's interconnected as much. Obviously there is a huge community behind Bitcoin and Ethereum, other projects as well. But you don't feel that connected tissue as much as I think you do with PIVX. Snappy's on video now. There he is. Looking good, my man.
Hello. Well, I want
Hi.
to Snappy something, but I want to jump into Chad quickly, because Snappy, you discovered this when it was super, super early, but it was PIVX, yes? It wasn't darknet when you came about? It was PIVX when you found it? So, wait, I didn't hear your answer.
I think he was nodding because maybe there's some background noise.
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh yeah, you sound great.
Yeah, so I officially jumped in right at the transition between darknet to PIVX. It was in that transitory period. I had a prior relationship with both of the co-founders of PIVX, or darknet, before there was a darknet. So, or before the darknet coin existed. So my relationship goes back to before the project and its nexus even existed. But I guess you could say, in terms of energetically, really moved into the project supportively and then actively during that transition time from darknet to PIVX. Yeah.
Beautiful. And so we kind of want to dive into that piece, because we've talked about PIVX community and kind of discussed a little bit about what makes it great. But I want to speak to strategically why this matters, and especially because we all very much care about the growth of this project and, growth on the charts, which I can freely
grow those charts,
say.
baby.
And I think, Chad, you were so pivotal, but pivotal. You were both so pivotal, but Chad, in the branding in particular, if you want to talk to us about that transition and where that came from and what inspired it.
Yeah, so I was introduced to the project fairly early. I was, as it was darknet, and I think Eric was my first introduction, and he first said, "Did you want to help out with this other coin that started with a D and ended with a..." Anyways, we'll talk about those guys. So I said, "Well, I'm not sure. I didn't really know much about it." But then quickly he's like, "Okay, we've changed. We're now this coin. We need to rebrand, rebuild it." I'm like, "Sure, that's what we do. We can rename it and rebrand it." I said, "What's the name?" He said, "Darknet." I went, "Yeah, we should really change that name." And this is coming from someone who knows nothing, but I was just like, "Yeah, that just doesn't sound like something I want to be a part of." So we went into a process. The process of naming and branding is very extensive. There's a lot of things that go through that, but in the end, through a lot of back and forth and community involvement, some voting, we decided to come up with a very short acronym name called PIVX. So Private Instant Verified Transaction. And right away, it was a little bit like, PIVX, what is it? But then we went into branding. Of course, with branding, shapes, colors, vibes, and all that. And we offered the community a bunch of choices. We were really passionate about purple. And so when the team was like, "Well, we kind of like this other blue or red or whatever," I was like, "No, I think you want to do purple." And at that time, there was I don't think there was any coin that was using the color purple. And just to give you an idea about the brand, what's inside the brand. The color purple has a lot of meaning behind it. Ultimately, a lot of people think about as like royalty, passion, these kind of things. And really, I zeroed in on the term royalty. And I think Snappy we've talked about this before. When you think of royalty, it's not about elitism or I'm the king and you're not. It's really about that everyone has worth. And you are worthy, and you are royalty. So everyone needs to have that feeling that they are worthy and valuable. And so that's part of the purple vibe, is to just drive that humanity, worthiness, value into it. Obviously, purple has a lot of other meanings, but the shield shape was very intentional. Every coin was round and a circle, and it was all about the coin. We're like, no, let's create this element, this icon that was that spoke yes to the tech, so the privacy, the shield, the protection, but the shield also represents a family crest, and it's something that you'd see on a wall in a Scottish castle or whatever, right? Because those shields represented the battles that the families went through, and then they became this heritage crest that was carried on through centuries. So we wanted to inject this family vibe, this community, this tribe-like vibe into the brand, and that came through with the shield shape. And so every element of the coin was really meant to push this whole idea of community, worthiness. It's a human-centric coin. It's a community-centric coin. And so the brand, we started to use those terms within our brand early on about family, about everyone bringing their best to the table. We use the X in PIVX to kind of represent the X factor. So bring your best. What's your best? Bring it to the table. Why a table? Because that's where families hang out and eat and laugh and cry and do life together. And so we had this idea of this whole communal table vibe going on. And that was right off the bat, like January 2017. And when we launched the website in March, we were all talking about this vibe, this community, this table, come to the table, right? And that's where it just kind of exploded. And Snappy was a part of this, and Mike Dubb and Eric and Grant and all these other kind of OG Pivians just kind of embraced that brand and just ran with it, and it was just up to me from the creative standpoint to kind of support the look and feel around what that meant. So
I think when you start to say that and talk about Snappy and the brand, and Snappy, I don't want to embarrass you, but I gotta tell people. So I used to work at Revlon. I ran PR there in Canada, and I used to do this exercise where I would get people to envision what Revlon would look like if it was a person, if the Revlon brand was a person. And I think for a lot of us, if the PIVX brand was a person, it would be Snappy, who is just the most amazing human on so many levels. A lot of you guys may not know he's actually a doctor, Dr. Dorian.
That's right.
He holds an Australian
doctor.
He holds an Australian passport, and is just one of the most fascinating humans that I've ever met. And we connected so deeply at a crypto conference that it's so funny because it was one of the most shallow places in the world, and yet here we were as this Pivian community. Mike Dubb was there, and it was the first time we met Snappy, and there were literal fireworks going off in the background. And I have a picture of it, of Angelo and Snappy sitting there. And it was like, wow, I have just met the most magical human, and he's critics to me. So, Snappy, I'm sorry to embarrass you, but can you talk about the other side of purple? And that, to me, is energy and sort of what you represent.
Yeah. So, pulling from what Chad said about the royalty aspect, the worthiness of every single human being, some of the realms that I find myself in and enjoy being in is this spanning between the scientific and the metaphysical, right? So we can go into the quantum entanglements of particles that exist between, elements around the world, or even, galaxies throughout the world, and that these particles somehow are still connected. Well, I think that's what the world is waking up to, is that all of us as human beings are interconnected. So that worthiness aspect means that, when I'm encouraging someone to be in their best, then I'm encouraging that right back to myself, right? So if I'm spreading these karmic elements of love and joy into one another, then that's what gets reflected back. So in this, then really encouraging people to, like, show up. You have freedoms, you have responsibilities. With responsibilities and with power comes great responsibilities. So consciously think about that in your choices. And then that's also for me with, any type of community, is how do you foster that, and how do you encourage individuals to really step into their power, and not in the like egotistical manner, but really into their true selves. And a true self manner means complete vulnerability. And that's something that's freaky and scary, especially in crypto realms, is for an individual to be completely vulnerable, right? I mean, we talk about in other sayings, like, open kimono, where here it is on the table, literally everything about me, or there's nothing hidden, because I can have these types of open discussion with another individual, which is kind of paradoxical, because we're talking about a privacy coin, right? And that's where some people kind of like, it's hard for them to, that juxtaposition to wrap around. But the point is, privacy is an element of, that's an innate right for an individual to have that. Above that then is the human elements of how do you then engage and act in every moment of life. So that really then speaks to, on a purple level, we talk about the chakras, right? So in human dynamics and energy systems, purple is associated with the crown chakra, which is really close to, then you would say, like enlightenment stages. So when you start to really imbibe that into a culture, into a coin, into a project, what you're trying to then infuse is this awareness of there's something beyond the known, right? We know what we can touch and feel and kind of dissect. But I think all of us, if we really are honest with ourselves, have this awareness that there's something beyond what we can physically taste, touch, see. But I think some of us are starting to experience, and that goes into that energy level. And that's quite frankly what PIVX is you can see something tangible. There's incredible code, there's incredible developers, there's marketing, there's community, there's sports, etc. And yet there's just something else to it. There's something deeper. And for people who get it, they get it. And then it just becomes like, oh yeah, that's why I want to be part of this project. And that goes to that level of connectivity.
And I think that, circles into this movement that we're seeing, where emotional intelligence is worth so much more, and we're really moving into an emotional economy. And I think we've seen, like, emotion is what built PIVX, right? People's passion for the project. There's a lot of people who, as with a DAO, that aren't necessarily making a salary or employed or have that kind of security, but they're bringing their passion and
you gotta sing for your supper around here, baby.
Totally. And then the way that people react, whether it's that they're supporting you now with tips, or the community is voting in your projects because they appreciate what you brought to the table. I think that is a really cool thing. And just to tap into that table metaphor on a deeper level, in the way that places have been governed for so long, we really think of that exclusivity, those closed doors, and those meetings happening at a table, and a very like, you can't sit with us attitude from all levels of power. And I think when I think about PIVX, it's the distribution of that power, where you're opening that door, and just like you guys said, you're inviting everyone to the table, and everyone who's at the table actually has a voice in the community. They're not silenced when they're sitting there. They can jump into Discord if they want to contribute to PIV. They can put a proposal in no matter who they are. And it's really cool to see, if you just do some random YouTube research on PIVX to see what crypto influencers think about it, they talk about how, oh my God, I could actually submit a proposal. And instead of just buying and holding this coin, I can participate in this community and actually make something and do something with them to help them grow. And I think it's cool when you're seeing someone who's probably coming in to say, to critique and to pick and poke around, and they wind up falling so in love with PIVX that they jump in and join with a proposal. So I think, Snappy, if you want to kind of loop in with some of the biz dev things that you've seen happen as a result of bringing people to the table and having an open fork, and I think specifically about our friends in Korea, the Observer project.
Observer, yeah, baby.
Yeah, so this is another initiative that's underway. It's still to be really embodied, but there's a lot of collective energy going into this. PIVX right now, probably it's one of, if not the most forked coins So put another way, back when Bitcoin was launched, all the derivative coins were forks of Bitcoin, right? It's like, here's a clone, and a copy, and a rebrand, et cetera, et cetera. Now, as we've seen over time, a lot of those have just fallen by the wayside. They were probably scams from the beginning. No judgments around it. It just was the nature of the industry. Well, we're seeing that sort of in a version 2 or 3.0, where people are looking to PIVX as this incredible code base for a plethora of reasons. And so it's becoming one of the most used code bases. Now, what's occurring out of that is there's projects that are valuing that. So rather than just saying it's an open source project, we'll take it, we'll slap our logo on and go in our own way, there's actually projects now that are coming full circle and saying, you know what, we want to be part of this ecosystem. We're proud to be a PIVX fork. Why? Because PIVX holds something energetically that's different. It's unique. It's incredible development in code, and then also this element. And we want to be part of that. And so Observer was a project that actually reached out and said, we want to officially state that we are a fork of PIVX. We'll sign an MOU. We want to align closely with the PIVX project. And they're a decentralized weather app, platform out of South Korea. They're about to launch, I think it's 8,000 mini weather stations on one of the islands in South Korea. And they're a PIVX fork, right? And so there's this initial collaborative joint ecosystem that's occurring. And on the heels of that as well, just another coin. So Zenzo is another project, again, very recent, another newer project that's a proud PIVX fork. And so then they're in talks about submitting an official alliance proposal as well, because people are realizing it's one thing to go off and strike it out on your own, but then there is this whole communal aspect, even between projects, that we can see strength, right? You guys are free to focus on your realm. There might be crossover. Yeah, we're all in this cryptocurrency environment. But what happens if we actually align our communities and provide an interoperability of people to work on projects together? From project to project, what does that do? And that's something that, I know there's a couple other arenas in crypto that are trying to do this. It's awesome to see PIVX sort of stepping into the limelight as being really, really inclusive of quality vetted, I'll say, forks of PIVX that want to be part of this.
And Chad, what is it like when, a brand forks or a project uses a fork of PIVX and they want to come on board, just like that scenario, and have an MOU and they want to partner with the brand, or when people, come forward and they have different initiatives under PIVX and you have to sort of let go of that brand a little bit. What is it like to grow the community but maintain the integrity of the brand that you helped to build and create?
I think what's cool about the forks, and especially those that are really hyper relational and want to have a business relationship with PIVX, for me, the visual brand doesn't go with them because they have their own brand and whatnot. But how they talk about PIVX, how they interact with the PIVX community, the brand of that kind of infuses into their company as well. And that's where kind of that flow happens from not just a logo and a color and a whatever brand. It's the vibe and the ethos behind the brand that we now get to kind of inject into these other projects. And obviously, when you have a relationship with someone business-wise, they're gonna kind of there'll be some things come back to you as well. So I think it's improving our brand. So it's exciting that way. But the relationship side of it, the improvement of the ecosystem, and being able to rub off on these other projects, some that are brand new starting off, and to be kind of a support system for them. Obviously, the code is everything, and that's kind of like the ultimate for those forks. But when they're interacting with us, with Snappy, with myself, with the community, with the devs, they're actually we're rubbing off on them, right? And so we're allowing the purple passion, the vision of that brand to then be, it just becomes greater within the ecosystem that we can sit back and say, hey, we had a part in this, but those forks and those other companies, they can really be super proud of what they're doing and just have this relationship with us that is symbiotic, So it's exciting. We came into PIVX as a fork of Dash, and at that time, there was a lot of coins were bashing each other. And right away, when I came in the picture, I remember talking with Snappy and others about even our Slack channel. And let's bring this down. Like, let's not tolerate this kind of activity, right? And the table analogy is perfect, because if you invite people to your table and some stranger comes in, he starts, you know, swearing at your kids or talking about the artwork on the fridge that sucks and blah, blah, blah. You have an opportunity there to be like, dude, stand down or take a break or get out, you know? And so there was an intentional thing that was going on, tough love, that I think initially really started to purify the PIVX community, so that when people did come in and they sat around the table, there was a safe vibe. We had more, so crypto, what, 90+% male, right? Like within the communities, we started to see more and more female and even young people come into the community. Why? Because I think when they initially did, it was just a terrible place at times. Like, there was a lot of just hurtful things that go on. So the brand element of that became part of PIVX as well. And again, back to the comment about the forks, I think we're able to kind of like say, hey, we're not going to bash you. We're going to like embrace you. Let's do this together. And, you know, if they go left and we go right, that's no big deal. If they're starting to do things that are really like things that we don't feel are part of our core values, we'll be like, okay, you know, we're done. You guys do your thing, but we're not going to be a part of this, right? So there is a line there. It's not just all love everybody and everyone's welcome. Everyone's welcome initially, but we really want to protect the family, and we want to create that vibe of inclusivity, of care, of respect, and to not hurt the planet, the people, and to increase profit, but only if it's for the common good, right? So all these forks that are coming in and the alliances are just going to grow the Purple brand.
Beautifully said, my man. Beautifully said. So I want to give a couple shout outs to some people in the community. First off, JS Kitty for coding the awesome tip bot.
Awesome.
And please let me know if I'm forgetting anybody that contributed to that. But
furniture.
There we go. There we go.
Others. Yeah.
Everybody that contributed to the tip bot, that's awesome. It's great to see it being used. And let's play a little game right now. We're going to give 5 PIV to the last person that tells us what, in the chat, in the YouTube chat, tell us what can the community do to help PIVX grow. Okay, so the last person, when I say so, is going to get 5 PIV. Light it up, baby. Make sure this is a good time to say, I hate to say it, you know what? I'm going to succumb to the trend. Smash that like button, baby.
Oh
Subscribe. You know, I'm going full YouTube influencer, baby.
Oh
Do it all.
gosh.
I want it all. I want the likes. I want the comments. I want the shares. I want you to copy that link.
Okay, good for you. Can I take it back? Can I rein it back in for a second?
Yeah.
I also want to give a huge shout out to Furzy, who's been working very diligently with the rest of the tech team, investigating that whole POS fake stake, report that happened. So there's a statement that's coming out from tech very soon. They did a lot of testing to make sure all of our coins are safe. And so I just wanted to give a huge shout out to them and thank you so much.
Coins are safe, baby.
Yes.
Safe coins.
And someone else that I want to give a shout out to, Chad, you mentioned that this is a community where, you're starting to see more women come in and feel welcome. I know I myself, I've been in this crypto industry for a few years now. The first time I worked in crypto was with a guy named Bill Ty, who's an early Bitcoin holder on some projects with BitFury and Richard Branson's Extreme Tech Challenge, which was a lot of blockchain stuff around 5 years ago. But I've seen the discrimination and the misogyny get worse and worse. But I have always felt so embraced and loved by PIVX and just felt so much positivity. As you guys know, I rocked, even the purple hair because I love PIVX so much. But that's actually rubbed off, and all of the events I've spoken at in the last year where I talk about being a woman in this space, and when they want to get in, I encourage them to check out PIVX as the very first project they check out. And this all leads me to an intro of a special woman who's been buzzing around the community named Steph, who is extremely passionate about the environment, the planet, about technology and getting more women into it, and using frontier technology like blockchain and PIVX specifically to really help make an impact. She has joined on as an eco ambassador, which is so cool. So helping with our environmental initiatives, and we're really going to be diving into why the PIVX community is, can I say, better for the environment and the planet than the Bitcoin community?
Yeah,
I guess I'm going to go ahead and
say
say that.
You said it.
Yeah, that's right. Purple is the new green, I think, is one of the things that Steph was saying. But it's
Purple's the new green, baby.
Purple's the new green. So I think what is really cool is that we've got, young women like Steph, who is super cool, has a lot of value to add, and can really help grow our expansion with the female demographic, popping in and just giving love in the community. And I know she's been chatting with the devs, working back and forth with Furzy and with JS Kitty on some cool new projects, working with Furzy on the communication statements. And it's just so nice to have that feminine energy. So shout out to Steph. If you guys see her, send her some purple rain. She's been volunteering her time, just helping us out, spreading the love. And so very cool to see more women coming in. Just kind of wrapping up on the tech front, as I was saying, Steph's messaging.
Before you say that,
what?
You've got not many more minutes left to
Yes.
drop in the chat how you think community can help PIVX grow.
That's right.
Continue. 5 PIV, baby,
The
when I
big
say
thing,
so.
I think, guys, and before I see your answers, is that community can support tech, because our dev team, our amazing dev team, are the ones really driving this. So anything you can do to support them, whether it's making it rain on them, passing their proposals, encouraging them in the governance calls, chatting with them, and just kind of giving them a high five, thumbs up, a little purple heart. Is an
Sending
amazing
them
way.
coffee.
Yes, the power of positivity is so huge, and I think if we support our devs and our tech, it can go so
That's
far. We keep winding up with people like JS Kitty in our community. We're all going to have purple rain everywhere. So that's so exciting.
Okay. All right, Brian Mills, you win the 5 PIV. Let's go through some of the answers.
Woo, writing those DJs, I like that.
All right.
5P.
5P, baby. 5P. We may need some room to grow there. So we're gonna start small and build up from there.
We love to give and we love the PIV.
So Mr. Anunnaki, more ambassadors. Far East says subscribe. That's right. Smash that like button. Smash subscribe. Turn on notification bell. That's more Best People Man impression for today. Talberg, community needs to be active. Bring your friends into crypto. Tell your grandma.
Tell your grandma.
Tell your grandma. I love that. That's a new slogan.
Oh, what's Chad saying?
That's a new slogan. Tell your grandma.
Tell your grandma.
Tell your grandma.
Yes.
You need a mascot on the streets, throwing paper PIV in the crowd, yelling purple PIV rain.
Oh my God, yes.
I love it.
I nominate
I was going to nominate Snappy.
Oh no, Snappy's too far above that.
I'll do it, baby. I'll do it. Okay, some more awesome videos like this that highlight the continuous growth of PIVX. Satoshi Nakajeff, thank you. Thank you very much.
Arigato.
Arigato. So when you hear coworkers and talking about Bitcoin, point them PIVX.
That's right, Bitcoin sexy cousin.
It can be as simple as that. Just say, hey, this. There's these problems with Bitcoin. And we don't have to say problems. We can just say improvements that can be made. And this is the reason why we should look at PIVX. Brian Mills, imagine the PIVX Panther roaming around DEF CON, throwing crypto in the air and letting it rain down on the oblivious crowd. I think there's a theme emerging here. Talberg, think about how you can bring this into school, safer internet, global connections.
Yes.
Nice, that's out of the box. Love it. More DJs. Grant us. Oh, right. We got to give a shout out to the PIVX Radio. That's something I've been making a mental note the whole broadcast and forgot to say. Big shout out to everybody who's managing and pioneering the radio.
That is so cool.
I think that's it. So Brian Mills, make sure you message me on Discord, and we'll get you sorted out, my man.
Oh, did you see the luggage standing in the TSA
Luggage.
line at the airport, standing at the end of the X-ray baggage machine, sticking paper PIV stickers on luggage till you get chewed up?
Yeah, that's good.
Wow.
That's
yes,
good.
Brian Mills.
You know what? Anything that potentially gets you put into a special room in the airport, I'm full support. Full support. So that wraps us up at the end of the hour, guys. Welcome to the very first PIVX Roundtable. Thank you for joining us. Thank you to our guests, Mr. Snapalap and Chatty Chad.
Thank you, guys.
This is going to be something we do bi-weekly, and we're probably going to commit to this time here. So 3 p.m. Every other Thursday, Eastern Standard Time. Until next time.
Peace, love, and PIV.
Stay purple.